All right. I made a video and I lost it because of the heat or something. So here's my solar. So it charges rather quickly relative to what I had, which was just the big power bank. And the reason I know that is because I have them all plugged into each other. You can see that. So I just wanted to do that. Now I know there's energy loss in the exchange a little bit, but what I'm noticing is I can keep it plugged in. And it's kind of giving me energy constantly, which means this is good. So it means it's pumping energy into that bank all day long, constantly, a lot faster. That's 9 solar panels instead of 8. So this video is about God. I lost the last one. I was on a roll. I hate it when that happens. So God and your 9th Amendment. Really the first too. Maybe I'll add that. I'll supplement the First Amendment in on this too. So the First Amendment tells us that, well, geez, this is what God would want. Listen, my children. I want all of you to live together peacefully. Treat each other without discrimination and with equality. I don't care what religion you are. I created everything, including your religions. And don't forget, I'm all loving. So though I created everything and it's a mystery to you why evil exists, you'll know things in time. So I'm an atheist. This baffles atheists. They can't figure out why I'm like this, but I'm an atheist. And it's because I have the one true eternity, so I understand God. I'm the only guy in history who ever has. No one else has. So the 9th Amendment is God. The first supplements it, especially monotheism. Well, what's at the center of that, everybody? We have different names for it. It's that eternal, singular, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, all-loving. At least that comes through me for Islam. Some people say Islam's not all-loving, and they're like, well, we're the religion of peace. And they have these qualms and these conflicting disturbances. But you all live together here in this country, and you can do so. When you start doing it too and stop having problems, you can do so peacefully. You can be neighbors side by side. I went to school with them. I had Muslim friends. It doesn't even matter to me. I grew up in 1990s, 2000. I looked to my left, to my right, got Hispanics, blacks, Indians, anybody, everybody, all religions. It didn't matter to me. So I grew up in a world where I didn't see through a lens of a kaleidoscope of division. It was just a kaleidoscope of unity. Like, what's this? Just me growing up not knowing anything else. I didn't grow up in the 60s or any earlier, so I didn't understand segregation, etc., although we still have some problems. But the 9th Amendment, now the 9th Amendment tells you the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage against others. I'm a strong 9th Amendment proponent because the problem with our country is through the 10th and the 9th right now. Everything. The 10th, the 9th, and 14th equal protection and some redundancy. This is all it is. I solve problems, including your country's. So I'm the president. And I use the Constitution to do it because that's the presidential argument. I beat all of you, every congressman and woman, every judge, every doctor, everybody. Everything goes through me because I'm the Constitution. And what I did was determine the problem, and this is the problem in your country. So the 9th Amendment, now in the state of California, they've went awry. They've legislated mental health. The powers that they've legislated aren't delegated and they are prohibited. They may not do this, period. They legislated involuntary mental health. They can arrest you for anything. So what the 9th Amendment says to that, well, first off, the 10th Amendment just says you can't do that. Anybody with a brain knows that. Well, you can't just create something that allows you to go out and arrest people for following the law so that you can just target anybody you want and throw them away for as long as you want. For no reason. No crime committed. Well, the 9th Amendment's telling you the 10th is the enumeration, and I go over this all the time, and this is why the 9th Amendment has God in it. I'll get to that. And it's for atheists. Theists have this question too, atheists do, because the 9th Amendment says the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights. So God's like, look, I'm omnipotent, I'm omniscient, I'm omnipresent, I'm eternal, I'm singular. Oh, and I'm omniamorous. I'm all loving. Just means you don't have to go out of your way to kiss everybody's feet and hands. It means respect can just come through leaving people alone. That leads to peace. Well, we didn't ever do anything to each other. We were neutral. It's the negativity that leads to other things. But God's telling you I'm all these things, and you can't construe these things against one another. This is what I am. So some theists, when they doubt God, have these questions. Atheists always do. So atheists raise these questions. And they think that they're so brilliant and intellectual, and they're not. And they're like, well, could God's omnipotence remove God's omnipresence? Can God's omnipotence remove God's omniscience? Could God's omnipotence destroy God's self? And that's a big one at the end. And the answer is, of course, no. If you remove God's omnipotence, or if God's omnipotence destroys God's self, that's what you've done. Well, you removed God. Well, God's not omnipotent. If you remove God, God's not omnipotent anymore because God doesn't exist. So what the equation is this. It's a sum of all those qualities, and then you have omnipotence. So God's eternal. God's singular. There's only me. I'm forever. God's omniscient, all-knowing. Omnipresent, everywhere. In space and time. Anything you could ever think of, God's there. And omniamorous, all-loving. And because of those things, the end, there's an equal sign, is omnipotence. That's what makes me all-powerful. So, of course, if you remove something from the equation, what you end up with on the other side of the equal sign is a different answer. Well, you remove my omnipotence. So they always ask these questions, is God willing but not capable? Is God capable and not willing? And the reason is they never understood God. So the brief rundown on God is God's eternal and singular, and I have the one true eternity. I'm the only guy who does. So for both atheist and theist, and you all become atheist, I create monoatheistic omnism. No matter what position you take, you're an atheist. You either accept what I present, which means that you know it. When you have proof and evidence of what the eternal is, you just lose faith and belief only in the eternal, not everything else. Just now you know God. For certain. That makes you an atheist. Doesn't mean you denied God, you didn't lose God, you lost faith. Theism means a belief in God, atheism means a lack of belief in God. So how we know that God's eternal, or that eternal existence is because you can't produce nothing in a lab. You'd have to bring me nothingness for me to ever accept that at one point in time there must have been nothing. Well, nothing's self-defined. Of course you can't bring it to me. It doesn't exist. So what we conclude is, and we go over a few things just to strengthen the argument. Logicians might call it tautological. They always use this word. It's not. It strengthens the argument. So nothing does not exist as a physical substance. Like, well, then you can never bring it to me. Exactly. So you can't create it. Right. You can't bring it to me. You can't find it anywhere. It's not a form of evidence. It's only a concept. But it helps us comprehend everything in existence and existence itself. So because nothing cannot exist, will not exist, does not exist, you can't create it in a lab, you can't bring it to me, you can't prove it, it doesn't exist. It's not a physical substance. It never existed. There's always and only been something. And as much as science can prove, it's this stuff. It's physical, it's energy. Now, the first law of thermodynamics would tell us energy cannot be created nor destroyed, so it's strengthened again, it's eternal. No beginning, no end, can't be created, can't be destroyed. This is what it is. It only transmutates from form to form. You have different forms of energy, the 5 states of matter and masslessness. So God's everywhere. This is God's mind. So God's also saying, well, if you want to get to know me, you can study me. For theists, because theists have trouble with science sometimes. Well, this is God's brain. God created all of this. So God left you little clues all over the place and went, look, when you get to know me, you can have cars and airplanes, go to other planets, cure diseases. Well, because this all came from my brain and I left it here for you. But I want you to know me. And not only through faith. I want you to know me. This came from me. This is certain. So this is how you touch and connect with theists. Atheists just can't deny the eternal existence, and I just explained that, unless you're schizophrenic. So this is what makes you all atheist, because you begin to know God certainly. And when you know God for certain, like I said, it removes evidence. It removes belief because you have proof and evidence. I prove it to you, but this is what it is. You never have an argument again. Theists always win. What used to be theists, but they become atheists, and atheists are like, wait, what am I now? You remain what you are, but you're given the one true. So it's monoatheistic omnism. It's the inclusion, acceptance, recognition, acknowledgement of all religions, all lifestyles, all people, everything. The absolute knowledge of what we are, where we're at, and what existence is, and that's eternal and singular. So God's all these things everywhere, all present. Can't be created, can't be destroyed, eternal. God's qualities are right here. This is it. So you're in eternity right now. But the Ninth Amendment, the way that this correlates with and is congruent to God is you can't construe God's qualities against one another. Again, it's like having 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. How many was that? 5 equals 10. And you go, yeah, but what if 10 removes one of the 2's? But then you only have 8. God said I'm 10. So that's what they're doing with God's qualities. I'm like, well, then God's 10. If you remove one of the 2's, God's only 8. Well, of course it's not 10 anymore. So 10 is omnipotence. With all of these things together are me. Now, power comes from energy, too. You go, why is God all-powerful? Look out at the universe. Look at everything. You're a tiny little human. Even the whole civilization together, you're a tiny little planet. God's eternal. So eternal relativity would tell us that eternity is without beginning and without end. So anything that's finite, regardless of how large or small it is always infinitely smaller than that which has no beginning and no end. That thing's infinitely larger than you. Even if you're just massive, you could be 5 universes together. Like, yeah, but the whole thing has no beginning and no end. You're infinitely smaller still. So all these things combined are God's omnipotence. Now, what God did was had a plan and said you have free will, and that's to speak to the illegal technology that this local government's using in the United States of America, hopefully not other places in the world. No one can control your brain. I don't want this used on people's heads because they're all filthy scumbucket liars. They use shit on your head and then lie to everybody and say it's not happening and use oracles. They're doctors. Oracles. We have professional opinions, and they're all in on it and behind it. And then lie to everybody and plant mental diseases on you. So that's one of the things they do here in the state of California. Now, that's why the Ninth Amendment is God, too. You can't construe God's qualities against one another. He just always has them. Now, you don't have to make God have a gender either. God can be gender neutral, or God, all genders. If you want to be technical about it, God is all genders and no genders at once, and everything in between. So, then God's all powerful, so God's everything. You know, it's like trying to take something away again. And go, now what is God? So, not what God said God was. God said, I'm all these things. Well, you can't take one away. I am all these things. So the Ninth Amendment tells us the same thing. Well, look, your federal government, because this is what the state of California thinks, I guess, these terrorist criminals, it doesn't matter what they are, they're just thug terrorist criminals or the federal government, they think they have an immunity to commit crime, so no law may ever justify a crime. So it doesn't matter if it comes through immunities and privileges or some other section of law. You're directed in the Constitution to not be able to commit a crime. And the Ninth Amendment says any right that you do have or power that is certain, including government officials, may not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by the people. You can't create anything like a warrant and go, I can follow this guy around now, I know where he's at, and I can just harass him and stalk him and do anything I want. A warrant's for a temporary removal of privacy. It's an honest and faithful, just search or investigation. It's not used to sleep deprive people, murder people, and go, well, we had a warrant. This is what the state of California's government's doing, so this is why I kill all of them. The San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department is in possession of this technology. They're doing it. The Stockton Police Department. They're oracles. And maybe the whole state of California. So what it looks like is I have to slaughter the entire state of California's government. They came into possession of this technology and they're using it to murder people, and they think it's justified, but at the same time they're lying about all of it and hiding everything. So what I also do is I send out an international message, and that is to track down and find all CIA agents and kill them. Dispel them from your country and or kill them. I prefer kill. And the reason is they're an international terrorist organization. I'm actually pursuing world peace and have the blueprints for it, and these agents and this agency does nothing but perpetuate world war. And they're in possession of illegal technology. So they are to be killed. But the government here has legislated treason, that's why they are killed. So the police officers are easy because they don't die. So I can't even be... they've arrested me for thinking that they die, so it's a mental health crime to think that they die. To say, so they don't die. That's the message I get. So, whoa, okay, you guys don't die, I'm killing all of you. So they don't die, I kill all of them. So I kill, it says that a third of them get out. So some of them are smart enough and they leave. I kill all of them, every sheriff's officer, all of SPD, their police chief, their sheriff. I probably do them the worst. So just fucking, I'd rip their bodies apart and cut their heads off. They're pieces of shit. They don't do anything for these people and they worship these oracles. So they don't die. I have physical appearance schizophrenia. The oracle said so. I have bipolarity. I didn't see any oracles. They sat in the back room and they decided this. So this place and these people are slaughtered. Now, what would be nice is if I could get somebody to help me in the investigation. I'm taking down license plates so they can already follow those people around and investigate them. They're already dead as is. I kill those people. I open up a web of who they're communicating with, and I go, well, I'm killing their family and their friends. They're all doing this. It's insane. I can't believe it. They pick people and go, we do it to him. And then they all lie about it and hide it with oracles. And I guess they get paid for it. They get paid to commit crime. Well, then the whole government's corrupt. Our Constitution never said you could do that. It says no. And then it says to the judges, well, don't forget, anything at the state level is to the contrary. It's notwithstanding. Or is to the contrary is notwithstanding, which is what this is. Got ahead of myself there. It's all to the contrary. It's notwithstanding. They can't do this. They refuse to admit that they have the technology. I think they're destroying and deleting evidence. Their practice of mental health is an obstruction of justice legislated. You don't get an investigation. You get an oracle's opinion. So, in closing here, that's what I do. Your First and Ninth Amendment are, you know, in my interpretation of the Constitution and God, these are the amendments of God. Here are all my qualities. You may never remove them. I am this. You can't construe them against one another. I love all your people. And the way you do that is don't create a law in respect to the establishment of any one of their religions. Allow me to objectively and lawfully rule over all of you with equality. Being as fair as I can, freedom to practice. I know you're all different. Well, freely practice, but I can't create any laws in respect to one of you, because what happens is you become conflicted, like the Ninth Amendment again. It's like, well, if I do this, if I legislate that all women have to wear a burqa, well, then we lose the freedom to practice other religions. So, the First and the Ninth, the way I look at your Constitution is those are God's amendments. And the last thing I do is the 16th, and that is a tax on religion, so that I can get the economy rolling big time. This is not, all these other presidents make these huge promises. This is not small. If we taxed religion, which we will, we can't even calculate for it yet. It could be up to $200 billion annually in just raw, fresh surplus. Here it is. And then you're at total peace. The military has a $750 billion annual budget. What do you do with the rest of it? You can get another $200 million shaved off the top of that if you're at total peace. We don't have to pay for any of this stuff. Shut it down. We'll get the personnel and convert them, make this conversion work. Money's nothing if you can't convert it into anything. But since it's there, it can be converted, and that requires personnel too. And if you're the commander-in-chief, you go, I want you guys to go in this direction. Here's what we're doing. Spend the money on that. So I just make electricity, water, and all this stuff pretty much dirt cheap for your country. And the camera system solves all your crimes. These are things you could have always done. I don't know why you're not doing it. I guess it just required me. I have all these questions, and in the end, I just go, I guess it required me to be here to finally get it done. I target and attack your presidents intellectually, but then I also go, well, I have to have just sometimes a teeny tiny little bit of leniency and go, well, there's nothing any of you could ever do about it. It's me. I'm the only guy who ever did it.